Good morning, friends. I hope you all are doing good. Today, we will discuss the SOC 2 implementation guide for security controls, especially CC1 to CC9. Why? Because CC1 to CC9 are the security controls and keeps mandated by the AICPA. Other controls, which are availability, integrity, and data privacy, completely depends on organization whether they are going to opt or not. But CC1 to CC9 are the security controls which are mandated by the AICPA. So let's begin the session. Here the question number one: how many controls in SOC 2 required to implement? In SOC 2 the controls are not fixed like ISO or NIST 853. But controls are designed by the organization to meet the trust service criteria defined by the ISAPA. The question arises, what are the trust services criteria? So I had made a list here for your easiness where security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and data privacy are the trust service criteria defined by the AICPA, and these are the criteria coded. Like if we talk about the security, then coded are CC1 to CC9, and these are the examples you can read. One more thing, security criteria is the mandate kept by the AICPA. However, these are the optional ones. Let's come to the second questions for further analysis. How many controls are mandatory and how many are optional? You have a client of financial domain, how will you implement the SOC 2? Here two questions are there. Number one is how many controls are mandatory in a SOC 2 and how many are optional? Question number two, how will you implement SOC 2? Let's discuss these two. So mandatory are the security domains comes under CC1 to CC9, which I had discussed in the last slide. Optional are availability, progress, processing integrity, confidentiality, and the data privacy part. Independent auditor will audit depending on the category chosen for the audit. Here, since these are the optional ones, so it's completely dependent on the organization whether they are going for these optional things for audit or not. But security part, CC1 to CC9 is mandatory. So organization needs to 100% comply with the mandatory, which comes under 33 criteria under CC1 to CC9 as a security implementations. This is the answer of number one. How many controls are mandatory and how many are optional? Second question, you have a client of financial domain, how we implement SOC 2? Let's discuss this in the next slide. First, you need to observe the scope. What is scope? Scope is a scope document where details of covering services are mentioned, where location, system, people's, third parties are involved, right? What is the purpose of storing the data, and all these details comes under the scope. That means what services comes in picture, it's completely defined in the scope part. So here, decide what part of your business the audit will cover, and these are the services most probably. Okay, you can read this, but we have since in question it is mentioned that you need to implement SOC 2 for a financial organization. So for financial organization, all the things are mandatory. All the optional criteria are mandatory, and security is automatically mandatory. So we need to covering the scope of whole organizations. Coming to the next step, perform a gap assessment. But the question arises how? So you need to first identify or you need to assess your current environment against the SOC 2 trust criteria. You need to make an Excel sheet where you need to compare what is your existing controls and what is your requirement, and accordingly you need to find the gap analysis that how can we implement with impact. Okay, that is the second option, saying that identify missing controls, weak areas, and gaps in the documentations, and this gap assessment report is called the gap assessment report. Make a compare sheet between existing control of organization and the target controls which you want to achieve, and do the gap assessments in below format. So I just said made a sample of demo samples for your easiness. Example CC1.2. Okay, this is the controls targeted, I mean recommended by the AIC, AICPA SOC 2, and this is the existing control I have in organization. Okay, so what is the gap? Okay, let me read this. Management define objectives and responsibilities. This is my target. Existing control information security policy exists, but there is no defined roles, because here the requirement is a responsibility. As I can see, there is no roles defined in the existing control, so this is the gap. So I need to first define the roles during hiring of the resources and during the deployment of the resources. So gap is there here. So I need to mitigate that one. Similarly, for CC 6.1 relates with the logical controls. Okay, the gap is there. It's not the G suite. Similarly, for CC 7.2 malware protections, antivirus installed on all the endpoints. There is no gap. Oh, okay. This is the a kind of random demo things which I had explained. Now let's see this Excel sheet. Let me open this first. Or you can do one thing. You can just open this Excel sheet. I will provide this Excel sheet in the description box for your easiness. In this Excel sheet, what is exactly there? The list of existing controls in your organization and what are the recommendations, what are the recommendations from the SOC to AI CPA. All security CC1 to CC9, all controls are listed there. If you have any queries in this Excel sheet or any guidance required, you can do your comments. So I am just leaving this opening of Excel parts for you to make your own self understanding. I'm just going to the next slide. You can have a compare by your own self. If you have any query, you can let me know in comments. Step number 3, identify missing controls and gaps. What are the gaps? These are the very simple questions, like do you have a policy documents, do you have a process, do you have a technical implementations, do we have evidences to prove it. Or you can mark as okay, I have a fully completed document, that's fine. I have partially completed existed but incomplete or non-complete missing parts. Step number 4, you can also assess operational effectiveness if preparing for SOC 2 type 2 long term. Like are controls not just designed or but also operating regularly or not? All these things you need to mention in your gap assessment report. Step Step number 5, you need to properly document the assessment in a gap assessment report. The gap assessment report should include the scope of assessment, the finding of each trust services criteria, what is the risk level of the same, what are the recommendation remediation actions. In the next step, what are the prioritization of the remediations according to the impact and the severity of the control. You need to focus on the high risk gaps and core security controls. Example, CC6 logical access are the most highly popular controls. You need to first focus on the logical ones. CC7 is for the system operations part and CC8 for the CM part, that is the change management parts. So I mean to say, you need to focus on the high risk gaps according to which controls have the high popular risk. You can remediate, or you can prioritize your actions accordingly. I just had made a demo for your easiness, a kind of gap assessment reports where area criteria gap found, yes or no, and what is the priority. Example, access control comes under CC 6.1, where gap found, okay, no formal users accesses reviews. Since this is the access control, which is comes under high severity, that's why high priority are there, right? In the change management control, it comes under CC 8.1. The gap found is change approval process informal. This is a mediator one. That's why the priority set as a medium one. Security awareness comes under CC 5.3. No employee security training conducted. What is the severity? High. Risk management comes under CC 3.1. Risk assessment last done 2 years, because risk assessment, you know how critical this is. This is very high severity case. That's why the priority set as a critical one. Gap assessment report demo. Here I also had a mention gap assessment report, which is a demo. A demo means, what are the navigators you should follow. I will attach this actual report in the description box. You can go through that one, or if you have any query regarding how to operate or any further guidance required, you can let me know in comments, or you may connect for any support, or any kind of help required. You can connect me by making your comments, or if you want me to make any video on the specific topic, please let me know. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.